Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I have posted in the past. If you have any videos that you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Recently, I received an email from a viewer and she asked me, do I have a recipe for a hot and sour soup? And my answer is that I do not have a recipe, but I have a template. And the reason I think template is far more important for home cooking because if you have the template, you can make use of whatever ingredients you have on hand. So you can make substitutions. This not only will make home cooking more intuitive, but at the same time, it will allow you to make use of your ingredients. And this is the reason where advanced prepping can be really helpful. Because through advanced prepping, you have many ingredients that you can use. So you can make ready substitutions. Now, the hot and sour soup have two basic criteria. And once you fulfill that criteria, you are pretty much free to substitute with any ingredients that you want in the soup. And these two criteria, first and foremost, is the flavor. The flavor for hot and sour soup, as the term refers to, it is that it is hot, which means spicy, and sour, and that is about it. The second important criteria that will make a hot and sour soup is that it's consistency. The hot and sour soup are thickened, and because of the thickness of the soup, it actually helps define what it is. So with these two criteria in mind, you can now almost make any type of a hot and sour soup that you like. Now, traditionally, there are certain ingredients that go into the hot and sour soup if you look at any recipe online. And these two basic ingredients are pork and mushroom. For this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use pork as the ingredients in this hot and sour soup. Now, I usually purchase pork loin and I use them for stir frying. But after I purchase them, before I freeze them, I will cut them into thin slices. This will make them ready as any time I want to use them for stir frying. Here, I'm going to give you a tip how to thaw them out as quickly as possible. I put them in Ziploc sandwich bag in a thin single layer, so this will provide maximum area of exposure to the water. However, after I put them in the water just for a minute or so, I will take them out and then I will bend them in such a way so I can break them apart. This will greatly reduce the amount of time for thawing them out. After I thaw out the pork, I will cut them into thin strips. Since the pork already are in thin slices, so cutting them to thin strips takes only a few minutes. The next ingredients I'm going to use is some shiitake mushroom. Now, this required a bit of advanced prepping because the shiitake mushroom are dehydrated. So in order to use them, you have to rehydrate them. And I discovered that to rehydrate them, in fact, one simple way to do it is that after you soak them in water again for about a couple minutes, I will press the center where the button of the mushroom or the stem of the mushroom is located. You will find that that part of the mushroom tend to be very hot. However, after only it has been soaked for just a few minutes, they will become softer that you can press onto it. And each time when you repeat it, pressing on them, they will become softer and softer. And this will affect the effectiveness of the mushroom to take up water. And after a few of these motions, the water will penetrate it much easier and faster into the mushroom. So you can rehydrate it faster in this method. A dry shiitake mushroom will last for a long time. In fact, a bag of dry shiitake mushroom that I had them for over 4.5 years, and they are still perfect. Therefore, if you want to have shiitake mushroom, you need to rehydrate them. I usually will rehydrate enough shiitake mushroom that will allow me to use them up in about 1 to 2 weeks, because usually after 2 weeks, they might get spoiled. Now, the best way to use the shiitake mushroom in this case for advanced prepping is that I will cut them up into thin slices. This will allow me to use them in many different types of dishes. They're really versatile. You can use them for stir frying with chicken, beef, or other type of vegetables. And in this case, I have some shiitake mushroom left on hand, and I'm going to use it in making this hot and sour soup. Another ingredient that frequently present in a hot and sour soup is tofu. However, it is not essential. But when you do put tofu in, there are different types of tofu that you can choose. I prefer tofu that is very soft, and this is a kind of tofu frequently known as silken tofu. The softness really gives the soup a nice fluid texture. However, you can use any type of tofu that you would like. And I usually cut them up into strips or cubes, depending on the type of tofu that you have. And they go really well, and you can add them way at the end when you just about finish making the soup. Okay, now let's go into the kitchen. The first step I'm going to do is to stir fry the pork. As I have mentioned earlier, that I have the pork cut into thin strips. That is the best way to incorporate the pork into the soup. If they're in too larger pieces, they kind of get in the way. So cut them into thin strips is probably the most pleasant way how you're going to enjoy the soup. So the first step is that I'm going to stir fry the soup in my wok, and I'm using my cast iron wok in making this soup. It's completely up to individual preference how much pork that you want to include in the soup. Some people like a small amount of it, but some people like a lot of it. But you can omit the pork actually entirely. Okay, now the pork is almost done. Next, I add the shiitake mushroom. The shiitake mushroom, again, is very much up to individual preference. Like I said, this is the wonderful thing about tempeh-based cooking. You can make adjustment modifications very much up to your personal preference. And the end result is that you can experiment on the ratio of the ingredients in this soup, as well as changing the composition of the ingredients. Quite often, you might just want to use whatever you have available on hand. For example, there's no reason that you cannot add, say, other vegetables such as broccoli or cauliflower to the soup as well. The next step is to add water to create a soup. I'm going to cook this whole soup in the wok, and this is the advantage of using a wok that will allow you to carry out all the cooking steps together in one place, and that definitely makes it more convenient and efficient. Okay, next step, I'm going to season the dish. I'm going to start out with some of my wok with tak basic seasoning mix. Now this seasoning mix is designed to enhance the natural flavor of the food ingredients. So consequently, it will allow you to make the soup more savory because it adds umami flavor to the dish. Now, there are many ways to create a hot flavor for this dish. Now, this spicy flavor can be created, in this case, by using a hot sesame oil. Now, this sesame oil also contains hot oil, so it not only will add sesame flavor to the dish, but it also will add the spicy flavor that is prerequisite for this dish. Now, quite often, this might be sufficient for most people. But if you like it to be hotter, like in this case, I'm going to add some hot chili pepper flakes. This will increase the temperature of this dish. Now, this depends a lot on how people prefer the flavor of their dish. Quite often that you can have a very mild flavor. On the other hand, you can have a dish that is relatively hot and spicy, or you can make it very spicy. And this is the wonderful thing about flavor chasing. With my fast cooking system, you are given the opportunity to modify the flavor any way you like. So what you will be doing is that you will continue to do taste testing to make sure that it has reached the flavor that you are looking for. And consequently, that this will allow you to tailor-make a dish exactly to how you like it. Okay, now we are toward the final step. I'm going to add the silken tofu to the wok. Now, it is important that the silken tofu are very soft, so you do not want to break them up because it is much nicer if they are in a distinct chunk that you can taste it much better. And this is the reason I'm adding up the silken tofu very gently, a little bit at a time, so I will not break them up. To create a sour flavor of the soup, I'm going to use a vinegar. This is a rice vinegar. This rice vinegar is the characteristic flavor that you will find in this soup. You can buy this rice vinegar either online or in Asian grocery stores. It is a very traditional rice vinegar, frequently known as the zhenjiang rice vinegar. And you will find this rice vinegar is very different from a traditional vinegar because it's much more flavorful. If you want to compare this rice vinegar to other known vinegar, this is probably very similar to balsamic vinegar, but it has a more distinct Asian flavor in comparison to the balsamic vinegar. Now, to thicken the soup, I'm going to use a cornstarch water suspension. Now, the cornstarch water suspension is perfect for creating the type of consistency that you want. I'm going to use 1 part of cornstarch to 3 parts of water. Now remember, this is a suspension, so after you put them together, you want to make sure that you shake them well before you add it to the soup. This step might take a little bit of practice until you achieve the right consistency by adding a little bit at a time. The final step is to create an egg drop soup. I usually use 1 egg, but you can use more or less egg as you prefer. When you add the egg, you want to add it very slowly and you stir constantly and to create a cloud-like texture. And if you add the egg too quickly and not stirring properly, the eggs will clump together. And that usually is not preferred in this kind of soup. The egg actually make the soup look nice, but it really do not affect the flavor or the texture of the soup that much. So if you do not want to include the egg, you can omit it, or you can just add a very small amount of egg. Now, some people like to have a lot of egg, which I personally prefer. Again, this is a lot to do with personal preference. I discovered that most Chinese restaurants has this hot and sour soup, but each restaurant seems to make it slightly differently, using a different approach and also different type of ingredients. Some of common type of ingredients also use things like bamboo. In here, I'm going to finally to garnish the dish with some scallions. The scallions will not have tremendous impact on the dish, but it does make the dish look more appealing. There are many ways to make hot and sour soup. This is probably the simplest and easiest way. So you want something that is quick and simple, then give this a try. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system. With this cooking system, you can make your home cooking practical, efficient, creative, healthy, and fun. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.